All right, it's 10 o'clock, so let's get started. Welcome to the Alameda Green Homes Tour, which is sponsored by Alameda Municipal Power. I'm Amy Kaiser, founder of the East Bay Green Home Tour. Today's event will give you a look at what people in Alameda and the East Bay are doing to their homes to make them resilient to climate change. The goal of this event is to inform you, inspire you, and give you easy next steps to start planning. Some of you have probably attended Alameda's home electrification fair last weekend. We planned today's event to follow that event with the idea that you might want to visit electrified homes on the island to see these features up close. Now I'd like to introduce you to Jared from Alameda Municipal Power, who's going to tell you about today's program.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jared Juanitas, utility analyst for Alameda Municipal Power. The Alameda Green Homes Tour has two parts, this morning's webinar and the open houses this afternoon. This morning, we'll talk briefly about the specific challenges that climate change is bringing to Alameda and the main strategies that people are implementing at their homes to meet these challenges. We'll take a virtual tour of Amy's East Bay home, which is fully electric. You'll be able to ask her questions then. Next, Cooper from Quick Carbon will give a short presentation on all the rebates you can access to make these home upgrades affordable, including rebates from AMP and other sources. After that, we'll show you greatest hits from past green home tours so you can see a wide variety of heat pump water heaters, heat pump HVAC systems, and induction stoves and cooktops in East Bay homes. And lastly, we'll share some exciting new technologies and tips for this afternoon's in-person tour. Today's program will be recorded and emailed to everyone who registered. Now, I'd like to introduce my colleague Edbert, who will explain how you can engage.
Hi, everyone. My name is Edbert Nguyen. I'm a program manager here at Alameda Municipal Power with our customer programs team. As our programs move along, if you have any questions about the content, please feel free to type them in the Q&A field. We have experts hanging out from AMP and Quit Carbon ready to answer your questions. If your questions don't get answered, we will definitely follow up and email you later. If you want to comment or engage with other attendees, you can do that using the chat function. If you have any trouble hearing or want to keep your volume low, the live transcript icon, the CC in a square, allows you to start or stop closed captioning. Hosts and experts will be active in the Q&A field ready to answer your questions. We want to make sure that you get the information that you're looking for.
Because we continue to burn fossil fuels, climate change is accelerating. And some of the primary climate change effects that residents of Alameda will face include heat waves, degraded air quality, drought, and flooding. Increasing temperatures and heat waves are going to be tough for many of us who don't have air conditioning, not to mention kids in schools, seniors, and those who live or work in heat island areas surrounded by pavement and little shade. So higher temperatures lead to more wildfires and smoke that worsens air quality. But even without wildfires, hotter temperatures lead to more spare the air days, as heat activates the chemicals that form smog. Higher temperatures lead to more drought and water shortages. We're not in drought currently, but it's expected to return with higher annual temperatures. As a low-lying island, Alameda is prone to flooding. Climate change is causing sea level rise and more extreme weather events like atmospheric rivers, which make our flooding situation worse.
Today, we are focused on what we can do to our homes to become resilient to climate challenges. These first three action categories focus on energy. Shrinking your energy needs means saving money on your energy bill. There are all kinds of ways to use less energy, from cheap strategies like using a clothesline to air dry clothes, to more expensive but impactful strategies like insulation. Electrification means getting rid of natural gas. As customers of AMP, all the electricity we deliver is fossil fuel free. It's a mixture of renewables like solar, wind, geothermal, biomass, and hydroelectric. Even if you're not in a position to ditch your gas stove, you can still do much of your cooking using an Instant Pot, portable induction cooktop, electric kettle, and toaster oven. This will dramatically improve your indoor air quality. For those of you with rooftop solar, battery backup will help you use solar when the sun goes down or in the event of a power outage.
The next three categories of action for climate resilience are guarding against flooding by making your yard more permeable, saving water to help East Bay Mud's water supply during drought years, and carbon farming, which pulls greenhouse gases from the atmosphere and traps them in soil, trees, and woody perennials. Carbon sequestration also creates thriving landscapes that are resilient to drought and flooding. Our friends at Stop Waste have great information on their website about carbon farming if you want to learn more. Okay, now that we've given you an overview of Alameda's climate challenges and the broad array of strategies to make your home more climate resilient, let's go inside a home to see some of these strategies in action. We're going to virtually tour Amy's home.
Thanks, Edbert. So the video that we're going to play shows all the green home features in my house that we've implemented over the last 10 years. If you want to ask me any questions about it, type your questions in the Q&A field, and after the video, I'll be able to ask some of them. So let's roll the video. Welcome to our home. I'm Amy.
I'm Jude. And I am Will, and this is our 1920 Oakland bungalow.
So when we were house hunting 10 years ago, we fell in love with this street because it has mature street trees, which brings in a lot of bird life. And also there were lots of kids living on the block, playing outside, and we have terrific neighbors. So come on in and let me show you what all we've done. One of the first things that we did as new homeowners was to get solar. I learned that I could get a leased solar system on my roof without spending a dime, so I impulsively jumped on that. Thankfully, it's panned out. I pay way less per kilowatt hour for electricity from my panels than I do from the utility company. For the last few years, I've been highly motivated to get natural gas out of my home. I think of fossil fuels as the Death Star. They are destabilizing the climate, polluting our air, soil, and water, and they also pollute our politics. The fossil fuel industry pumps millions of dollars into political movements that roll back civil rights, rip up the social safety net, and weaken democracy. The world I want to create and live in is the opposite of that. So the first thing that we did when we moved into this house is that we got insulation in the attic, which really helped because this house was very hot in the summer and really cold in the winter. My husband put up these ceiling fans. So we also needed window coverings, and so we chose these shades. They're called honeycomb or cellular shades, and they're actually very insulating. In my process of getting fossil fuels out of my house, one of the last things that I had to do was get a gas fireplace insert switched out with this electric. And we really liked the heat and the ambiance of the gas fireplace. So I bought this electric one, which has a little heating element that blows out of the back. I got this screen made from a Etsy vendor so that it can kind of obscure sort of the tackiness of a fake log. This is what it looks like at night. The unit casts flickering shadows that make it look like flames against the back of the firebox. So as part of electrifying our home, one of the big things that we needed to do is switch out our gas furnace. So we had a central gas-powered forced air furnace, and we just switched it out for a heat pump. Our system looks exactly the same inside the house. For instance, here's the cold air return that was part of the gas system, and now it's just part of the heat pump system. One of the things that you'll probably notice as you're going through my house is that I have a lot of items that I scavenged or got at thrift stores or found on curbs. I love scavenging, and it's part of kind of a zero waste mentality of the world just being full of material goods that should not be wasted and are still full of beauty and life. The very first thing that I did on my electrification journey was I switched out my gas stove. And this happened maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and my gas stove stopped working. And I was, at that time, I was newly reading articles that had to do with studies linking gas stoves to asthma. And my guys have asthma and allergies, and so I was extremely motivated to make my indoor air quality better. But one of the things that I really like is that I really like the look and feel of knobs. So this was the cheapest induction stove that was available at the time. It's a Frigidaire, and it has been fantastic, and I would never go back. You'll notice that I have tiles on the floor and on the backsplash, and both of them are made by Fire Clay Tile, which is a California-based company that's a B Corp, and with their tiles, they have a really high degree of recycled content. So this is a heat pump dryer, and heat pump dryers are ventless, so you don't have to vent it to the outside. The only difference is that a heat pump takes a little bit longer to dry your clothes, but it doesn't impact our lives at all. And with a ventless dryer, you have your typical lint trap that you're used to cleaning out, but then there's a second lint trap there at the bottom, and I clean that out. You know, a light will go on, and I'll clean it out every few weeks. This Blomberg set uses very little water and electricity, and I practice load shifting, which means that I try to run the dishwasher and laundry machines only when electricity is the cheapest. For me, that's the middle of the day when my solar panels are cranking. So this is a little clothes drying rack for inside. You know, on sunny days we can use a clothes drying rack outside, but if it's rainy, or let's say there's just one piece of clothing that I don't want to put in the dryer, then this little contraption is a nice little drying rack. So to get natural gas out of my home, I had to switch out my water heater and furnace and get an EV charger. So I needed to make more space in my electrical panel for those additional circuits. However, I did not upsize my electric service to 200 amps. I stayed on 100 amps. My old main panel sends most of the electric load to this new sub panel, which is just physically larger. Eric of All Electric California put my induction stove and EV charger on the same circuit using the simple switch, which is anchored in my crawl space. So if you want to electrify and people are telling you that you need to upsize to a 200 amp panel, take a minute and explore whether that's true. It could be that your electrician just hasn't heard about circuit sharing devices. You might want to pursue the strategy of just getting a bigger sub panel with more room for extra circuits. And I got a rebate for this electrical work because it was in preparation for my heat pumps. So let's go down to the basement where I can show you the heat pumps. This is my heat pump water heater. So this is the tank part, and the heat pump part is actually outside. A lot of other heat pump units just have the heat pump right on top. We didn't have enough clearance for the heat pump on top. These tanks are extremely insulated, so in a power outage, we can still get hot water for quite some time because it's like a giant thermos where it's just keeping water really hot for us. So this is in our crawl space, and this is where our gas furnace used to be, but now we have a heat pump system that both provides heat in the winter and cooling in the summer. And you can see that it also has a HEPA filter so that our indoor air stays clean on smoky or high pollution days. The outdoor part of the system is on the side of the house. And again, for this HVAC system, I got rebates from both Bayron and Tech. Welcome to my backyard. When we first moved in, most of the backyard was paved with concrete. So one of the first things that we did was we went to Oakland's tool lending library and we borrowed a sledgehammer and a wedge, and we broke up all the concrete, and then we used the concrete to form these little retaining walls and also our raised bed. But if you have concrete that you want to get rid of in your own yard, consider using it for retaining walls. All of our backyard plants are on a drip irrigation system, and our next project is installing a gray water system so that we can reuse our laundry wastewater on our plants. In the meantime, I've installed a flume flow meter to track how much water we're using and from what source. It also detects leaks. EBMUD rebates are available for these. So for our plantings in our backyard, most of the plants that we have are either natives, fruit trees, or edibles. I want to show you my bicycle garage. During COVID, my husband built this bicycle garage because we use our bikes a lot and he commutes on his bike. And also during the early year of COVID, I bought a electric bicycle, a Rad Runner, which is very fun. So thank you so much for visiting my home. I've been doing these green home tours for 3 years now, and every single home that I've visited, I learned something new and I got inspired by something that the homeowner did. So I really hope that by seeing what I've done with my home, that you also get inspired to do some of these things. Okay, so now we're going to do a brief Q&A. Edward, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so it looks like in the chat we have a question about induction cooktops. The question is, do I have to get new pots and pans for induction cooking?
Well, uh, I only had to replace one thing. I had a soup pot. But the way that you can figure that out is you just take a refrigerator magnet and you put it on all your cookware. If it sticks, it'll work on induction. If it doesn't, that means it doesn't have any iron in it, so the magnetic field won't work. But we have, Le Creuset, we have stainless steel pots and pans. A lot of cookware manufacturers are now shifting to making items that work on induction.
Then another question we had was, oh, I can also see that Cooper answered that question as well in the Q&A section. So
Well, you can ask it anyway. We can do it
yeah,
on, we can do both.
yep. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one right here about heat pump units. So how much noise comes from the heat pump units located outside?
So it's not that much. It's not that much. It feels like there's a hum, but it feels I don't know, no different from, for instance, air conditioning units. Um, our neighbors are pretty close to our house, and there's just no problem there.
We have another question. Can you restate the way your electrical was upgraded without upgrading to 200 amps?
Yeah, so we have a 100 amp panel, and we had a sub panel, but the sub panel was little and old. And so what I did is, what worked for our house is the sub panel was changed to be to just have more space, for circuits. But we were able to fit in everything that we have still on a 100 amp service. When that video was made, we had a circuit sharing device, but now we don't, and we're still able to fit everything in on a 100 amp service. So it's worth asking your electrician, especially if you choose an electrician um, that is, knowledgeable about electrification, because more often than not, you can fit more than you think onto 100 amps uh, without it being dangerous.
Great. And then one last question we have is, how long did it take you to make all of these changes?
I think it took about well, we've lived here for 11 years now, and I feel like this happened over a time frame of maybe 6 to 7. It kind of started with the electric stove, with our gas stove um, malfunctioning,
Hmm.
to where we're like, well, do we want to get it fixed? Do we want to get a new one? And at the same time, I just happen to be reading all these articles about how it fouls the indoor air quality and is related to asthma. And so that was my initial motivator. And then I just kept going.
Let's see. Oh, here's another question that came in. Is the average homeowner able to understand what electrification involves? Where do you begin to educate yourself?
Well, that's a great pivot question because our next presenter is Cooper from Quick Carbon. And I asked him to present because it's just this fantastic free service. And so, yeah, Edbert, we can roll. Well, actually, I have a slide of possible questions, but once Cooper starts talking, he will be a great answerer of that question.
All righty. Hi, everybody. I'm Cooper from Quick Carbon, and here we go. I've got a few slides to share with you, bringing you some advice, some insights, hopefully some motivation, clarity, and ultimately confidence to engage with the topic of getting your home off of gas, with the topic of making it safer and more efficient and more comfortable by moving to electric appliances. These changes can feel daunting. We saw Amy's terrific video, lots of wonderful upgrades. They don't just happen like that, but there are certainly ways to make them easier, better, faster, cheaper. And we do this because moving our homes off of fossil fuel to the clean electric supply that Alameda Municipal Power is already providing all of you is really the number one way we each individually act against climate change. For many families, the biggest source of our climate impact are those machines in our closets. It's hard to imagine this, but it's true. Here's some analysis that come from San Francisco. Alameda's in a very similar position where we can see that a big chunk of greenhouse gas is coming from buildings, and almost all of that is coming from natural gas. Now, the other big chunk, of course, is transportation. That means cars and trucks. Electric vehicles are great. We can help you with those too, but today's topic is mostly about electric homes because it's less well known, more misunderstanding and more opportunities there. And when we talk about electric homes, when we talk about the climate impact, we're really mostly talking about water heating and space heating. Now, we touch our stove and our dryer much more frequently, but in the big scheme of things, they use very little gas. It's almost all coming from your water heating and your space heating. This is like, wow, wait a sec, that machine sitting there in my closet, making hot water for my showers, that's how I'm harming the climate, harming my local air quality, costing me extra money. Yep, that's it. Luckily, we can electrify. So what does it mean, electrifying? It means mostly these things in pink. It means taking appliances we've already got that are powered, that are fueled by dirty and increasingly expensive gas, and switching them, upgrading them to instead be powered by clean and safe electricity. So a gas water heater becomes a heat pump water heater, and Bernie's happy about it. And a gas furnace becomes a heat pump like the one we saw at Amy's house, and the ones you're going to see this afternoon on the tour. And a gas stove putting dangerous pollution into your home, which we just learned, I think it was yesterday, of a new study out of Stanford that they double children's cancer risk. We knew they were bad for children's asthma risk. Now we're hearing they're bad for cancer as well. Let's get that thing out, especially because, gosh, cooking on induction is so much better, faster, easier, and way better to clean too when you're done. But it also means other things. A washer dryer that runs on electricity. How that big black thing in the middle, that's a pool heater. If you're lucky enough to have one, a pool, you could heat it with a heat pump or a spa. The beautiful electric fireplace, of course, an EV charger. Now, a lot of things to think about here. Our organization, Quick Carbon, came into existence because we tried to kind of understand, navigate, learn about all these things, make these changes in our homes. And we just found it way too hard. We found the idea of going and figuring out all the rebates and finding a great contractor and trusting what they told us was just too much. We kept asking ourselves, why isn't there somebody that can just help us out? There wasn't, but now there is, and it's us, Quick Carbon. So what do? We're going to learn about your home. We're going to develop an optimized roadmap, and we're going to help you upgrade. This whole process is free, and we are not a contractor. We don't sell anything. We're here to help. First, we're going to learn a bit about your home and its priorities. learn about your appliances, and you'll consult with us on a Zoom call just like this. You might get to talk to me or one of my colleagues. Then we're going to develop this optimized plan, this roadmap, these insights about what you want to do in your home, when you want to do it, what it might cost. So even before you talk to a contractor, you're getting a sense of, okay, I think this is my priority and I want to do it at this time because that's when the rebates are big, so that you can go into contractor conversations feeling much more informed, much more confident about what's happening next. And then we can get you introduced to local contractors, or we're happy to review bids that you source from contractors, and we'll help make sure that you're getting the right work done. We heard a bit from Amy about how she was able to upgrade while avoiding electrical panel upgrades. If you just call a contractor, far too often they say, step one, a lot more electricity in your house. That is almost never the case. And with our guidance, we help people see how they can make these changes while spending less. Now, part of why you can spend less are rebates. There can be a lot. They come and they go. The rebate landscape in California, on the upside, there's a lot of free money out there. On the downside, it's inconsistent and complicated. Yet another reason that having Quick Carbon on your side is a great option. Alameda Municipal Power has some terrific, generous rebates that we can help you navigate. There are others. Most of the rebates are not income qualified, but some are. And you would be surprised. We hear this all the time. I'm not going to qualify for limited income rebate. And then we check, and you do. The limits can be remarkably high. So don't just rule it out until you find out. Now, in the Quick Carbon Insights, we're going to show you roughly what things cost. Here on the left is an example of a heat pump water heater. And then what incentives, tax credits, rebates apply to you and your home. There are other places on the internet where you can go find big lists of rebates, but working out which ones are for you and when and how they're going to apply can be really tricky on your own. We're here to help. And the timing is important. When we talk about scheduling, many of these rebates will come, go, come back. We often know at Quick Carbon about rebate changes before anybody else does. We're sometimes able to advise folks, hey, you might want to wait a little while. I know it pains you and us to keep burning the gas, but if you wait a little while, you can capture extra free money. Get that free money. It's coming to you, so let's help you get it. Now, things can be tricky, right? But sometimes we need to have creative solutions. There's my 93-year-old mother on the left with a heat pump water heater we helped her get in a little shed outside her house. Sometimes we need to move appliances to make them fit. That's fine. We're good at that. And here's some unusual locations. We heard about Amy's heat pump water heater that needed to go somewhere where it wasn't very tall. No problem. We know about all sorts of great solutions, often before even plumbers and other contractors know about these solutions. We've helped over 5,000 families all across California, and we love doing this work, and we've been recognized for it by Energy Star. We're the only Energy Star certified provider of advice and guidance that's operating in California. And we're also a certified B Corporation. Amy, you mentioned B Corps earlier. We just became B Corp certified as well. We've got some great partners, including City of Alameda, and we are your free expert concierge. The service is free. Come on over to the website, click the button, and we'll start on the process. Now, one thing we often hear as folks start to dig into learning about this is, well, I've got a gas appliance, but it's working fine. I'm just going to use it up. I'd like to see if you can come away from today's session with a different perception. Gas appliances are not fine. Even if they're working, they're burning fossil fuel, they're polluting our local air quality, they're harming, accelerating the global climate crisis. And if it's a gas stove, they're harming your kids and your pets, maybe you too. They're not fine, they're just what you currently have. There's no need to use them up, because as soon as you remove that gas appliance and replace it with a clean and safe electric appliance, the gas appliance gets recycled. They always get recycled. None of them end up in the landfill because they're full of valuable steel. They get melted down and turned into heat pumps. So this concern about using things up, try to set it aside and instead think about what can I do to upgrade my home, upgrade my family experience, make things more comfortable and safer, take advantage of rebates and incentives while they're available, with the confidence that that old appliance gets recycled and turned into a new one. That's the right way to think about it. All right. That's what I've got today. We'd love to help you quit. We're at quitcarbon.com. Amy, maybe I'm I think I'm right on time. Can I help with any verbal questions right now? I'm definitely going to be hanging out in the chat and the Q&A as well.
Yeah, we'll just move along so that you can, but definitely if you guys have questions about anything Cooper just talked about, get busy in the Q&A fields because
There we
he
go.
is super knowledgeable.
Great, thanks. And I'll be at house number 5, I believe it is, this afternoon for the tour. So I look forward to seeing some of you in person then.
Oh, thanks for that reminder. So now we're going to take a look at both heat pump water heaters and heat pump heating and cooling systems in various homes in the East Bay. And to reiterate what Cooper said, Alameda Municipal Power offers rebates for heat pumps. So this 9-minute video shows people whose homes were shown in past East Bay Green Home Tours over the last few years. And again, if you have any questions about the systems that you see in this video, use the Q&A field to ask questions. So now we're going to go to a video. The burning of fossil fuels is driving pollution and climate change. That's why so many Bay Area residents are getting rid of natural gas in their homes. People are switching to electric heat pumps to heat both their air and water. Heat pump water heaters are electric, non-polluting, programmable, and highly efficient, which means lower energy bills. There are 2 main types of heat pump water heaters: models with the heat pump on top and models with the heat pump separate from the tank. Let's take a look at some heat pump water heaters in East Bay homes.
Originally we had a tankless water heater on the outside and we wanted to go all electric, so we put the heat pump water heater in, and we needed to run a 240 volt circuit because this does both heat pump as well as electric resistance. I've been using it only on the efficiency mode because I want to get the most efficiency out of it. There is a hum to it, but it's not that loud. And this is a couple years old, and I know the current heat pump water heaters are very quiet, basically equivalent to like a Bosch dishwasher. So if you can live with that noise in your kitchen, you could live with a similar noise in the basement.
We replaced our gas water heater with this heat pump water heater. And this thing is amazing. I love it. First of all, because I don't hear that gas go sipping on, and I know spewing out pollutants. So what it is spewing out is this nice, or it shouldn't use spewing, it's putting out this really nice cold air, and all the warm air is going in here to heat the water. When it's operating, it does make some noise, and typically these are in basements or garages like ours. They can also be put outdoors. So this happens to go back up against our bedroom wall. It's all Wi-Fi enabled. We've programmed it to shut off at 3 p.m. when energy rates go up, and then we keep it off all night. And at 7 a.m. it turns on again. And we have not run out of water for the 4 of us. And this is with teenagers taking long showers.
This unit is our 50-gallon heat pump water heater. 99% of the time it operates in heat pump only mode. On the occasion when my extended family comes to visit, we put it into hybrid mode. And at that point, it uses not only the heat pump, but also resistance heat to meet the demand.
And then we have this tank so that if there's a power outage, if the electricity goes out, we can keep hot water for a couple of days because the tank is quite big. This is the compressor for the sanding heat pump. That's the hot water heat pump.
Now let's take a look at heat pump HVAC systems in East Bay homes. There are many types to choose from: ducted systems, ductless systems, package terminals, and the harvest system.
And the heat pump is really cool. It was a whole new system. It sits in the attic above my house, and it's a Japanese system, very high tech. You can barely hear it on. It's like a little cat purring at you. What's cool about it, it's a heating system, it's an air conditioning system, but it's also a air filtration system, which I have come to really like. If there's some like smells going on or somebody cooks, I just go over here to my nest, turn that fan on, and boom, it's gone.
We had an old wall furnace that was here at the front of the house. It did a good job of heating around the front, but then in the back of the house, we couldn't get any heat. So when we were going all electric, we wanted to do a heat source that worked for the whole house. It was much more efficient. So we went with a ducted mini split. Part of the reasons we wanted a ducted system is so we could have a filter, because in the last couple of years, we've had some significant wildfires and being trapped in the home, not being able to get out without having a good way to filter the air. So our new system has a MERV 16 filter to help filter the air. It produces heat for the whole house, and the efficiency is about 400% efficient versus about 50 for the old wall furnace. The outdoor unit for the heat pump is under the deck.
This is my mini split. It provides heating and cooling. And since I have this, the warmer days are a little bit cooler, and the cold nights, oh my goodness, make a huge difference, and now I can actually be warm in my house.
Here is our heat pump mini split. We have one of these mini splits in each of the bedrooms up here. They are a ductless system, so there's just lines of refrigerant connecting them to the outdoor compressor. And the downstairs of the house is on a ducted system, and they share the same compressor. And so heat pumps, as you may know, they heat as well as cool. And it also has a fan in it. Sometimes we just run the fan from it, and it creates some nice airflow. Hello, now we are under the deck, and you see here behind me our mighty heat pump compressor. It's large and in charge. It's bigger than your typical heat pump compressor you might see at a home, because it is serving essentially two different systems: our ducted system on the main floor in the basement, and our ductless system upstairs with the mini splits.
Hi, welcome to my home. This floor plan right here is about 1,000 square feet, a little bit less. It's completely heated and cooled by the single mini split head unit. The actual compressor is outside, but this unit itself is enough for the front and back. I do keep my bedroom a little cooler because I like it cooler, and that's way in the back. But the HVAC people wanted to add more than that. One is perfectly fine, particularly if you have a well-insulated home.
With such a small space, I wanted to get a heat pump that was sized appropriately for the space and that minimized the use of high global warming potential refrigerants. After a lot of consideration of what's available, I ended up choosing what's called a packaged terminal heat pump. The entire unit, including the compressor and all the coils, are in one box inside the building, and it's connected to the outside through two 8-inch ducts that go straight through the wall. This particular unit comes with a remote control, so I can power it on, set the temperature, and operate the louver. And this particular unit also comes with a Wi-Fi app, so I can control it from my phone remotely or in the apartment.
It's a combined house heat and domestic hot water system. So there's just one heat pump outside that takes heat from the air and heats the water that goes into this great big tank. And then that water is used for domestic hot water, but it's also used for house heat by running the extra hot water that's at the top of the tank across an air handler that then blows the air through a forced air system through ducts into the house. And it's very, very comfortable, more comfortable than a gas furnace. This is the pod. It's the brains of the harvest system. The harvest system, in addition to being really efficient, is really smart about when it uses power. In the case of this house, the best time to use power is in the middle of the day when the solar panels on the roof are really cranking, and it can pull that power. It knows when that time is, and it can pull it. If everybody only had a heat pump and didn't have this kind of smarts built into their system, all the heat pumps would come on at the same time. It would be terrible for the grid. This way, the pod knows when to pull that power, when it's cheapest for us in terms of paying for it, and when it's best for the grid.
Check out Alameda Municipal Power's website for rebates on heat pump water heaters, heat pump heating and cooling systems, and other green home appliances. Now is the time to transition off natural gas and stay comfortable and climate friendly with heat pumps. All right. Jared, this is you.
Now we're going to tell you about some of the latest technologies that can help you transition off fossil fuels.
Just a minute.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
There we go.
Most heat pump water heaters and induction stoves require a 240-volt outlet. You might not have room for that extra load in your electric panel, and having an electrician upsize your panel or install a 240-volt outlet can be expensive. Good news, there are now models that just plug into a regular 120-volt outlet. Rheem, A.O. Smith, and GE now make a 120-volt heat pump water heater that are up to 50% more efficient than gas water heaters. The installer caps your old gas line, plugs the unit into a regular outlet, and runs a little tube to a drain for water drips. These 120-volt units lack the electric resistance backup feature that enables quicker heating when the tank is depleted, but most people with heat pump water heaters rarely use that function. On the right, the Charlie induction stove is made by the Berkeley-based company Copper. This range plugs into a regular 120-volt outlet and has all the superior features of induction cooking: speed, control, and easy cleaning, but with a built-in battery. So when the power is out, you can still cook dinner. You can use Charlie's battery to power your laptop, refrigerator, or other appliances during a power outage. Here we have a couple of innovations in the heat pump HVAC space, both designed by Bay Area companies. The Harvest system uses a single heat pump to heat both air and water. The pod or brain of the system only draws energy when it's cleanest and cheapest, usually the middle of the day. At all other times, the large insulated water tank serves as a battery, storing heat for when you need it. The Gradient is an all-in-one heat pump that straddles a windowsill. This company is based in San Francisco. You can install it yourself. It plugs into a regular outlet. If you are in a temporary living situation, you can take the Gradient with you when you move. Both the Harvest and Gradient heat pumps use refrigerants with lower environmental impact. Lastly, I want to talk about how electric vehicles, or EVs, can serve as backup power for your home. V2L means vehicle to load. For around $30, you can buy a 300-watt inverter and use the accessory battery in any electric vehicle to power lights, a laptop, a TV, an electric cooler, or other small appliances during a power outage. You can use this in a gas car as well, but you'd have to leave the gas vehicle running the whole time. Leaving a charged EV running for several days is an emissions-free solution. Some Kia, Hyundai, and Ford EV models have built-in vehicle-to-load adapters. Just plug in your appliance the same way you would plug into a wall socket. With a fully charged EV, you can power laptops, tools, your refrigerator, and more for several days. In the near future, more EV models will support vehicle-to-load charging. V2H means vehicle to home. These are bidirectional EV chargers that can both charge your EV and also send power back to your home directly into the electric panel to keep the electricity in your home going during a power outage. An EV battery is much larger than a home battery. It's like 7 Tesla Powerwalls. Currently, only 2 vehicles have bidirectional capacities, Ford F-150 Lightning and the Nissan Leaf. We expect to see more models in the future.
Great, thanks, Jared. Now we're going to take a look at induction ranges and cooktops in various East Bay homes. People are replacing their gas stoves with induction ranges and cooktops for health reasons, climate reasons, and because they are a pleasure to use. They are very different from traditional electric stoves. When you're ready to switch, Alameda Municipal Power offers rebates and induction stoves and cooktops. This next video shows many East Bay residents and their induction cooking appliances. Type any questions you have about induction cooktop in the Q&A field and our experts can answer.
Gas stoves pollute indoor air, frequently at levels considered hazardous. They emit greenhouse gases and chemicals linked to asthma and cancer. Emissions are happening even when the stove is turned off. That's why East Bay residents are switching to induction cooking, which is fast and precise, with easy cleanup and no emissions. Let's visit some induction stoves and cooktops in East Bay homes.
The Wedgewood stove we had for years, we loved it. And then I got a low-level carbon monoxide alarm to detect the lower levels of carbon monoxide. And when we would run the range, we'd put something on the cooktop, the alarm kept going off. And that kind of unnerved my wife. And that definitely helped us move along to the new induction range, which we love as well. I love how responsive it is. When you're cooking, it's super responsive, it's fast to boil, it also cools off really fast. It's easy to clean, and I really like not breathing gas fumes when I'm cooking.
When we first moved in, my mother came to visit. She loves to cook, and she was really, really worried about it. First of all, she thought it was an electric stove because it looks a lot like electric stoves from way back. And she cooks Indian food, and she just was very skeptical whether it would make the things that she loves to cook for us correctly.
Very important deep frying thing. And we were really worried that it wasn't going to work on the induction stove. So when she went through all of our pots, she put it here, filled it up, and we all kind of waited on pins and needles as she turned it on. And lo and behold, her very special deep frying thing worked. And she was really happy after that. And now she tells everyone about her daughter's induction stove.
My family owns a restaurant. My brother is a chef. So cooking on gas is how we kind of came up. So we learned that a lot of our pots and pans, some of them worked, some of them didn't. We had to do the kind of magnet test and figured out that some of the existing pots and pans we had worked on this induction cooktop, and some of them we ended up having to purchase some new items. So that's been an experience. We've also learned the differences in how we cook certain dishes. The oil heats up differently. My brother's a chef and he enjoys cooking on this induction cooktop because he says it's a lot more efficient with some of his dishes. Oil heats up quicker, and he's just able to bring the dishes to life a little bit better. So lots of new experiences here with the induction cooktop.
So my cooking is all done on an inductive stove. And not only does it allow me to safely heat and cook meals for my family, it makes sure that nobody gets burnt because it stays relatively cool. And like my favorite part is after I'm done, cleaning it out is as simple as just wiping it off, and then I'm done.
Induction range is an induction stove top and an electric oven. It's Fisher Paykel and it's a 36-inch. There's not a lot of induction ranges you can get on the market yet that are 36 inches, so we were pretty limited on what to choose. One of the reasons that I like this one is because I do a lot of cooking, and I love the arrangement where I have 5 burners, and I can bridge 2 of them so they'd have a really big heating space, and it's just Eli's going to help us because Eli likes to cook with me. We cook together a lot. So it was important to me to go with induction for our all-electric home. As you may have heard, cooking with gas really emits a lot of harmful chemicals in our home and harmful gases, and one of those is methane. And I have a 2-year-old here who is, so he's with me all the time. We make pancakes together. We make a lot of cookies, don't we? And so I feel so much better that we now know we have a clean kitchen for him to be in.
So far, been very, very happy with the induction range. It's my first one, and the learning curve has not been very hard at all. I find the control and ease and precision that you can cook with actually makes everything easier. It's the ability to clean it and keep it clean very easily is also a great feature. And I'm also finding that I'm not burning my pots and pans as much because you can just control the heat so much better. And if you have a large pan like this and you're doing something where you want to have a lot of different items being cooked at the same time, you can basically join them together and then have one sort of large cooking surface. It's great for things like breakfast. We're doing pancakes. We did it this morning. I was able to cook, 6 pancakes at a time instead of 3. So that's been kind of a nice feature as well.
When we did the remodel in 2018, we had a dual fuel stove, a gas top and an electric oven. This is an induction range that we just had installed, and we've been using it for about a month and really like it. When we first moved in, they had remodeled the kitchen. The ceiling was flat, and the entire middle of the kitchen above this 36-inch range was a vent that went up through the roof, and it sounded like an airplane taking off. So one of the things that was really nice about remodeling the kitchen was being able to take that vent out and install this backdraft vent that goes away when you're not using it and really frees up the visual space in the kitchen, but works to vent food odors and other things out through the floor.
I didn't even know, but my stovetop, because it is a gas stove, it's always emitting methane gas. And so I decided to get an induction cooktop. It's called a hob because it's not a burner because nothing's burning.
We are all electric in our kitchen, no gas on the cooktop. We upgraded to a Gen Air cooktop, and we're very happy with it. It took a little bit of persuading on my part to convince my wife that we should make the leap. She's a very avid baker. We love the induction cooktop. It's super fast, precise, easy to clean.
I'm really glad to be rid of my old gas stove because now I know the indoor air quality is safe. The old gas stove had a really terrible smell that would go beyond my kitchen. So with my new induction stove, I know that I have a safe environment inside for me and my family.
Check out Alameda Municipal Power's website for rebates on induction ranges, cooktops, and other green home appliances. Having a little bit of a tech glitch here. Just a moment. There we go. Okay, I just wanted to let you know about this other website that has a database for electrification rebates and contractors that serve Alameda. And I also wanted to put the URL here at the bottom if you want to go and check out all of Alameda Municipal Power's rebates for green home features. While I was watching the video, one of the women with an induction stove has a 36-inch and said that she had very limited options. And I just wanted to say that there's way more options now. That clip was from a couple years ago, and now you'll find a lot of options. in terms of size and make and models. So we hope that you're excited to tour some Alameda homes this afternoon, where you can see induction stoves, heat pumps, and more up close. The open houses take place from 1 to 4 p.m., and you should have the list of addresses in your inbox by now, your email inbox. The subject is Green Home Tour addresses and map. So check the details for your green home features at each home. And some homeowners prefer that you go shoeless or wear a mask indoors, so you may want to tuck a mask in your pocket when you go. Thanks again to our sponsor, Alameda Municipal Power, for making this possible. They're committed to the clean energy transition and helping you to make the switch. We'll be sending a post-event survey to your email this afternoon, so please let us know your thoughts, and we hope to see you this afternoon. All right, signing off.